Welcome to Scrunchy Time. I'm Nicole Hegstead, your fertility advocate. After 6 years of infertility and 3 miscarriages, I decided that I needed to become the advocate for my own body. If you're exhausted from struggling to get pregnant and want to know more about how I can help, check out my website at www.nicolehegstead.com.
And I'm Bridget May, your children's health expert. My son was born with a heart condition that led to 3 open heart surgeries, cath labs, a tracheostomy, and a ventilator. After being fed up with mixed opinions, I became my children's own advocate. If your child's health is lacking, then check out my website at www.bridgetmay.com to find out more how I can help. Put your hair up and pay attention while we discuss today's hottest topics concerning female hormones and healthy kiddos.
We aren't silky.
We aren't crunchy. We're scrunchy. And welcome back to Scrunchy Time. This is our 3rd episode of Scrunchy Time. And today we are going to talk about cloth in the home. So cloth diapers, cloth wipes, cloth pads, nursing pads. Nicole's going to touch a little bit on the menstrual cup as well as an alternative and why. So why we want to get away from the traditional pads and tampons and diapers and Huggies and all of that in the store. So
yes, very excited for this topic. It's definitely a big deal in our society. We have way too much plastic, way too many disposable items, and it's really, really important to our health. So do you want me to start with the pads first, or do you want to start with the cloth first?
Yeah, either way. Let's go over the chemicals and things like that and like what's in there and what it's doing to us first.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I was first alerted to the fact that there were problems with our pads, when I was in my teens. And someone actually shared with me, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but a lot of times in our pads, they have chemicals that will pull moisture or blood because they don't want you to spill over into your underwear or your pants or things like that. They want their pads to actually work. And so they have like this chemical that will suck the blood into the pad. And the problem with that is it's actually pulling the blood out of your vagina. And when it does that, it causes cramping. And so a lot of women that experience cramping, it's because when you're bleeding, the muscles contract to try and stop the bleeding and slow it down. And then you've got this chemical that's actually pulling the blood out through your vagina. And so that's where a lot of women's cramping came from. And when I switched over to cloth pads, I found cramping, it didn't stop for me. Like I've always had bad periods, but it was probably cut in half, honestly. Like it dropped by quite a lot when I switched to cloth pads. The amount of chemicals that are in it, just the BPA alone is going to be super bad for you. And putting it up in your vagina, as far as tampons go, or things like that, is just not good for us. Not good for us at all. These are hormone altering substances, and we're putting them right into the location that hormones are the most important to have it balanced. And so it's super, super dangerous to be using these kinds of BPAs and everything like that. But there's bleaching chemicals that are used in these pads. There's pesticides that are used in the cotton that's used to create these pads. Just horrible chemicals that were just sticking right into our hoo-has. And this is something we do not want to do to ourselves. So I definitely recommend pads for the chemicals primarily. But the other amazing reason I recommend cloth pads is because they feel amazing. It doesn't even feel like you're wearing a pad compared to when you're wearing disposables. And I have actually had to occasionally go back. If you have heard my story, you know that I have suffered from really irregular periods. And so I don't always pack pads, honestly, if I'm going on vacation or something, because it's like, I probably won't get it. I might get it. I just don't think about it. And so there have been times where I'm away from home and I get my period and you have to go buy pads. And the last time that happened to me, I realized that I actually got like a diaper rash from wearing disposable plastic pads. And it was like this is what babies go through. Like, why am I getting this? And it was because of the plastic that was rubbing against my legs and like irritating everything down there. And then that swooshing sound that toddlers have, you know, when they're running away, and it's swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. And it's so cute. It's not fun when you're a woman who's an adult having swooshing problems because you're wearing a pad. And so it just it dawned on me that like, this is how amazing cloth pads are. They don't sound like anything. They don't feel like anything. Half the time I pull my underwear down if I'm on my period and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on my period, because I forgot that I was wearing a pad. So it is truly amazing. And I definitely recommend it to everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to expand on the comfortableness of it. I didn't really have the cramping and issues like that, but again, I was the anti-hippie over here. And when Nicole told me she used cloth, she told me very early on in our relationship. I remember actually sitting in church at Paul. I remember the very table we were sitting at, and she's like, "Oh, well, I use cloth," and I just like was like, what kind of friend did I find? Like, oh, I just remember being like, I don't even know how to discuss this with you. I seriously was appalled. Like, I was, oh man. Yeah, I just remember leaving and just being like,
I did not even know this till just now.
oh, you didn't? Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. And then at the time, like, oh my gosh, you talked about cleaning them. And I was just like, how could you even think? Oh my goodness. Like, I was totally shocked. So anyway, yes. So I know the feeling. If you started listening to this and you're 42 minutes in and you're like, oh my gosh, who are these girls? I understand, but listen, keep listening. Honestly, it's worth a try, because yeah, the comfortableness of it. So I switched because I just started becoming more and more aware, and I was pregnant actually. So I remember I bought postpartum cloth pads off Etsy at the time, and was preparing for that. Don't know. I really don't remember why I all of a sudden was convinced that I should do this. This was, 4 years ago almost. And, but I did. And, I would wear them. Even I got them and I just kind of worn a panty liner just because I just don't like to be damp. I've always been that way. And so I just started wearing them, and I have honestly never stopped. I still wear, you can buy or make them. I've actually started to make them now, but, ones that are, like more like a liner or thicker or whatever. And honestly, if I'm out, even on a normal day, no period, I wear my postpartum pads. If that's all I have left and I haven't washed my own, and I don't know, I have no clue what I'm wearing. It's amazing. And those things, they're 18 inches long. So they're big, and I have no idea that's what I have on. It just feels like your underwear. Like, they're so amazing. I actually got to share them with somebody who just started their period, and they had worn disposables for a while, and she put it on, and like the moment she came out the door, she's like, I'm never wearing this again. Like, it was just, the comfort level is so amazing. And I've had that too, where I've had to go back for whatever reason. And I just remember, like, I did it once and I was like, never. And I never put myself in a position to not have one. Of course, I've been pregnant, so that's easier for me to say in the last 3 years. But, but yeah, the comfortness is priceless. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that one.
No, I agree. I've only met one person who ever walked away and was like, nope, these are horrible. And she actually gave me all of hers, and come to find out, she was this teeny tiny little girl, and she had bought postpartum, and they were super big and super thick, and it was like, well, duh. And then, like, as time went by, I kept talking to her like, you need to try different ones. And she was very much into like what is fashionable, and it's like, nobody's gonna know what you're wearing as far as your pads go. But she's like, so anti crunchy that she like, it wasn't gonna work for her, and she was just convinced that she hated them. But that is the only person literally that I have ever met that didn't try cloth pads and fall instantly in love with them, because they're so much more comfortable. So
well, and that makes sense too. Actually, the first one I got like a free mini one or something, and it had pull on the back of it, which is what's used in cloth diapers for like a leak guard. And it, for me, it slid all around my underwear. And, and I think it was too small, probably. I mean, I'm pretty tiny, but it was still just like, I don't know, the bigger they are for me, the better it is.
Yeah.
So maybe I have a weird
Who
shaped
knows?
butt or something. But anyway, so like that kind of turned me off in the beginning too, was just like that. But now I get them with a fleece lined back, and they're priceless, literally priceless.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah,
I agree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
I also want to throw in here about the cup, because the menstrual cup has been really big as of late, and that's kind of another alternative to conventional pads and tampons and stuff. It actually, so cloth pads kind of has replaced plastic disposable pads, and then the menstrual cup has kind of replaced tampons because it also goes up inside and catches everything. So if you're not familiar with what the cup is because I was not familiar with it until like 4 months ago. It's an actual cup. It's kind of cone shaped, and you just put it up inside your hoo-ha, and it collects everything. And then, let's say when you get out of the shower or go to the bathroom, you just pull it out and dump it out, rinse it off, and stick it back up in there. So our biggest concern, like mutually, we had discussed it, and our biggest concern was with all of the BPA problems that are running around and all of that, like, is this safe to be sticking this up inside, and what is it leaching and all of that? And so I did a ton of research on what the menstrual cup was made of and how it will leach and all of that. And it's made from silicone, which silicone will not leach until it's heated up to 400 degrees. And it leaches best if it's connected to, I'm sorry, I think it's 300 degrees. I'm pretty sure it's 300 degrees. So
it's warm. It's really hot.
Yeah, it's really hot, like hotter than you can get it if you boil it on the stove.
Yeah.
That was my biggest thing too, because you're cleaning this, and so can you break it down when you're boiling it on the stove? And no. So it was, I want to say it was 300 degrees. And so silicone leaches when it's heated to 300 degrees, and it leaches if it's around high fat content food. So if you're baking with silicone, really bad idea. That's going to be leaching. And actually, the endocrine disruptors that are in silicone are worse than BPAs. They're really, really horrible. So for those of you who have like jumped off the BPA bandwagon and they're into silicone now, silicone is really bad to be baking with, because you're going to have, usually baking food is like high fat content, lots of butter, lots of coconut, whatever you're using is going to be high fat. You're going to be heating that silicone up. So you're doing way worse to your endocrine system by using silicone baking over plastic. So go to Pyrex, because glass and cast iron are the best. But as far as a cup goes, there's no way your body's heating it up to 300 degrees. There's no way you're going to boil it up to 300 degrees. And so it's really,
and if you are, you have a problem and we should talk.
Yeah, exactly. You're probably not going to be able to talk if you're heating up to 300 degrees.
Hey, well, yeah.
So it really is fine as far as silicone leaching. The only thing that I recommend is definitely get a clear cup, because the dyes, there's been no research on whether the dyes can leach out of the cup. And if you get it clear, the blood can stain it to be more pink, but you're the only one that's going to see this item. And so it doesn't really matter. And then the best way to test it and make sure that the silicone is pure and doesn't have any additives is to take the cup and twist it, and it should stay clear. If it turns like a white or any other discoloration, that's an impurity that's in the silicone. So you don't want to use something like that, because that could leach. I'm not saying it will, but it could leach whatever that other impurity is into your system. So, and then the very last thing about the cup is toxic shock syndrome. You actually have a higher risk of toxic shock syndrome with the cup than you do with a tampon that you stick up there, because there's no oxygen getting around anything with the cup. So I definitely recommend, it's like 4 hours, I think. Whereas with tampons, isn't it like 8 hours?
I think so. That's what I've heard.
So it's like half the time that you need to be switching it out, which a lot of people like the cup because they say, well, I can work and I don't need to worry about changing my pad a lot. But to me, it's like, well, is it that much easier if you've got to find a bathroom every 4 hours and watch the clock like a hawk? Like that was really concerning to me. So definitely don't sleep with it. Use cloth pads when you sleep. Maybe use the menstrual cup during the day, but be sure you're on top of changing it, because that can really, like, you don't want toxic shock syndrome, obviously, for obvious reasons. So that's really all that I have to say about the cup.
Would there might be some sanitary things to watch out there too. Like if you're changing it in a public restroom, make sure you're washing it really well before you stick it back up there and all of that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe use the rules for, like, how when you go into, like, you're leaving a restroom, you don't touch any door handles and stuff. Try to do that when you're going in. So that way your hands are clean, or wash your hands and then go into the stall and then use your sleeve to lock it. Just throwing out ideas, like, don't touch a lot of stuff. Fingers up there. Yeah. So definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And then I know some people wear a liner with the cup. Well, that doesn't help, because then you've got a plastic pad right back there. So make sure you're wearing like a cloth pad as well with it if you're doing that too. Because I know I've heard that they still wear a liner and stuff. I haven't tried it yet.
I have yet to try either. I went in to buy one and it was like $40, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going, like,
another day.
Yeah.
But it would save you money. Like,
absolutely.
That's the thing too, like with cloth pads and stuff. I know when you buy them, they are, between $10 and $14 a piece. And, you want a stash of at least 5 or so on them. I also notice I change cloth pads less often. I'm not super, super heavy, but, I honestly don't change them that often. I really, half as much. And then, but I, like I said, I made mine this time around, and I made them. They're not the big postpartum size, but so they're my size that I like. I've, measured them and everything. I have a pattern I've worked out, but I used all the material that they would use for a postpartum pad. And so they're super, going to hold whatever comes at them.
Yeah.
And they still came out to like $3 a piece. So, just over. So, and I even had some organic material in there. It wasn't all organic because I couldn't find it, but still, so, that's a lot of money saved. I know when I bought pads, I was spending like, $8 a period. And that's, that's a lot instead of, $8 a year for a couple pads that you can sew together in an hour. They are so fast, so fast to sew up. So,
and in the spirit of full disclosure, cloth pads don't last forever.
No, they don't.
Get just gross. Like, that's the best way we found that we can describe it. Like, they just, when they stop working, and you're just like, this is just gross.
It's just not like they just quit absorbing,
It's like they get like a tough, crusty gunk kind of thing. And I'm
wondering if that'll change. Like I said, I used organic this time and different things like that. Like I used a high quality of the layers that I did. I'm wondering if that'll help too.
It could.
So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
How that plays out. But yeah, and the cup does last, right? There's no reason it should ever really quit. Is that right?
Yeah, from what I've heard, like it should not stop working. So yeah.
So awesome. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. And on that too, like, so I've also then like into nursing pads and stuff like that. They do the same thing. They have the same plastic crap, chemical pulling, everything. And they do the same thing. I also I used them for a little while. And because you would get, you get them free from the hospital. Here you go. So you use them because why would you throw something away? I also noticed I just the breathability was bad because they have a plastic sticky lining, on one side, and it was bad. And as soon as I ever put a cloth pad on, nursing pad on, I never changed. I have so many now flying around everywhere. So I even used so I do cloth diapers and wipes too. And for a while, I even was using our cloth wipes. I would just fold them up into a square. If I was super active, they unfolded and it was kind of awkward. But it was the alternative of going back to those pads was just the thought was just so uncomfortable. So yeah, you can use anything. So yeah, but yeah, so I've been making those, and those are just circles. so easy. I whipped up like 15 of them in an hour, 30 minutes. I don't know what it was, but it was really fast. So, and then cloth diapers, same thing. Like in children, they have done studies and proven that it actually affects their fertility in future, what is in our diapers, That's awful. Like when I heard that, so the reason I got into cloth diapers, I thought, again, my friends were just psychopathic. All my friends were doing cloth diapers, and I was just like, why would you do that? Like, that's what our grandmothers got away from. Why would you dunk poop and wash poop in your washing machine? And just so stupid. And I had a boy first. And so whatever. Well, then I started hearing these studies of how they have proven that the diapers cause infertility. And I was pregnant with a girl and how it affected them so much more. And I think it affects both now, with the research I've done now, but that's what triggered my curiosity of, how do I fix this? And so,
I'm sorry, I just have to interject. So like, obviously I'm one of those crazy friends, right? Like I didn't have children, but I have probably mentioned like, oh yeah, when I do have kids, I hope to use cloth diapers. But I remember you saying like, well, especially since this one's a girl, and I was like, what does that have to do with it? Like, boys are just as affected as girls.
It's all down there. It's all hanging out. It's
on and on and on about how this is a girl, so it's very important. And I was just like, okay, whatever gets you on the boat, that's all I care about.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Later on, you'll learn the sperm is just as important as the egg.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, it's true. But I do. Well, it's a girl. It's a girl. Like, she has to be fertile. I was very concerned. Yep. So anyway, so I started asking all my cloth diapering friends. I remember making a post. Okay, guys, give me your recommendation. Like, I was kind of horrified at making this post. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but let me know your favorite brands, yeah. I've come a long way. But anyway, so I did that, and I, heard pros and cons of all of them, did tons of research, and found my favorite brand, and that I've bought tons and tons of diapers of, and got some as gifts, obviously, and they've lasted 3 kids. I've had no issues whatsoever. You do have to take care of them, both pads and cloths. Like, you really need to use a really good detergent. Because again, chemicals, obviously, Tide especially is awful. It's horrific. Like, it builds up. I remember when we switched to a better laundry detergent, even our clothes, like I wanted to go through, like I ran one load and then I wanted to go through our whole house and wash it. Our clothes didn't have film on it anymore. Just like, oh, our clothes felt so clean. I'll never forget that feeling. Like now, I remembered when I would take stuff out for like the season change, I was just like, oh my gosh, these need washed now. Like, it's so gross. Or people give us clothes, you get hand-me-downs and you're just like, need to wash these now. These can't be washed fast enough. You just, they feel gross. And so that's what builds up on your pads and your diapers. And they can't obviously absorb if they have a layer of film on it. So I know people will tell you to like strip your diapers and things like that, but don't do that unless you really need to. A good couple washings is gonna fix that. So it's not usually that necessary. So, and then people are always worried about staining. Set them out in the sunshine and the stains go away.
And again, you're the only one that sees them,
Yeah. Well, I honestly, all my diapers are stained because what mom of 3 toddlers has time to, let's go lay the diapers out in the sun and hope the dog doesn't get them.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Their underwear is stained too.
Exactly.
Now that they're potty trained,
I remember my mom, when she got her hysterectomy, the first thing she did was go buy all brand new underwear and threw all her underwear away. It was like, what a great celebration of that.
Yep.
But yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, the other good thing, cool thing about it. So like the cleaning process of pads and diapers and all of that. With diapers, everybody's always worried about poop. That was my biggest thing, is I heard all my friends talking about having to take the diaper and like dunk it in the toilet and like clean it. And I was just like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. So they make this amazing invention that does not cost much. It's a diaper sprayer. So you hook it up to the pressure of your toilet. It hooks right on your toilet and you spray the diapers off. and you throw them
I
in
did not
the
even know
wet
that.
bag.
That is
Huh?
amazing. I didn't even know that.
It's awesome. And honestly, I use it for other things. Like, okay, let's be real here. Even disposable diapers don't hold everything. You get blowouts. That diaper sprayer is amazing.
That is awesome.
Like, you spray off the clothes, you spray off everything. I use it for more than just, I mean, just for like the sake of everyday diapers, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That
yeah. And when they're newborns too, I mean, I don't even spray them off. It's just, it's all liquid at that point, you know? And if your child's poop is on track, which we can talk about, but you know, you never should be like, oh, well, their poop's so hard, I just roll it off. No, that's wrong. So it should always be a soft serve um, waste. And so you need to be able to have to spray it off. Like that's what you're looking for. So definitely don't think that that's not going to be an issue for you. So that's something that needs corrected too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the diaper sprayer is on point. And then they make wet bags. You know, I always thought like going out too, even with cloth pads. Well, what do I do with it when I change? And they make wet bags. I mean, I have one little one for my pads and stuff, nursing pads and pads. And then they make just a bag.
Mm-hmm.
You never smell anything again if your child's poop is so rank that you can't carry it around with you for the afternoon. We need to talk because that's not normal. And I've never had a problem where anybody say like, do you have a poopy diaper? No, never get that. I carry them around all the time. So yeah.
So if you have questions about your kid's poop, or it's any of those things that Bridget just said, reach out to her or check out her book, because she has a book on Amazon, and it's all about your kid's poop, and it's awesome. I learned stuff that I didn't know, so that was really cool. But I wanted to mention too about cleaning your pads, because it's a little different. So you can, back when I had really, really heavy periods, I would do one of two things. I would either plug up the sink and just fill it with water and throw the pad in and just let it soak. Sometimes my husband walked in on that, and I have an amazing husband, and he would just be like, oh, you're on your period. You know, some husbands would not appreciate that. And so I totally understand that. So the other thing I do is I throw it on the floor of the shower when I take a shower. And then I let it fill up. And, you know, as I'm cleaning myself, I'll occasionally step on the pad, and it's basically the same as wringing it out, and then go back to washing myself, and it fills up again. And I basically do that until nothing comes out it all comes out clear. It's not red, it's not pink, anything. And sometimes if it's a super heavy flow, that involves actually picking it up and wringing it out multiple times. But by the time I'm done in my shower, it's completely clean. I just throw it in the laundry with the rest of everything else. And it's really not an issue as far as like getting blood anywhere, or, you know, gross. And I've also heard from...
That's what grossed me out the first time she told me about that. I was like, you do what in the shower?
It's really not like... I've heard from some women that they couldn't stand the smell of it. I've never had a period that bad. I kind of feel like if you do, there's something going on there that we need to look into.
I've heard, well, like if you do, like there's infection that is going on.
That's what it would sound like, because blood shouldn't make you, like, there's a metallic smell there, but it's not like make you gut wrenching, want to throw up.
Especially if you've got the shower running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I would really want to look into that if that's something that you're like, wow, it just makes me want to puke everywhere. Or is it implantation bleeding and you're actually pregnant? Like, I could see that. So, you know, if it's making you nauseous because you're pregnant, then that could be something. But if it's just a period and you're feeling sick, that shouldn't be going on. So other than that, it's super easy to clean it out, and it's really not that big of a deal. So
yeah, and I had like a medium flow. I never did that, and I just threw them in the wash.
Yeah, that too. When I'm spotting, I only do that if I have a really heavy flow going, which I've had some really heavy periods in the past. So that's the only time I even worry about cleaning it out. If it's medium to light to spotting, it just goes straight in the wash.
Yep. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Like you would just, like, you know, it would destroy the pad quicker if you rinse it out like that right away.
Yeah,
that makes total sense.
Yeah. And I was gonna say too, I'm wondering if now that we've switched to better laundry detergent, if our pads will last longer.
True.
I know I was using really bad stuff.
Yep.
The year that I actually lost mine, I was using regular detergent. So, because they just fell apart after that. But yeah.
Yeah, better material, better detergent, all of that all makes a difference. It's crazy what one little thing does. So awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you can, switch to cloth. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about it, reach out to either one of us. We'll get you in contact with one or the other to get your question answered. So don't, like, if this is something you feel you need to do, don't like just have it be this weird thing hanging out over there. Like, I should do that. It really does make a difference.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well,
thank you for joining us, and we will see you back here in a couple weeks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on today's podcast.
If you'd like to know more about our programs or watch the podcast in video form, you can visit our websites,
where we also share links and resources concerning the different topics that we have discussed.
Check me out at www.nicolehegstead.com.
And check me out at www.bridgetmay.com. See you next time.